The stars had never looked so cold. Admiral Ethan Cross stood at the viewport of the UES Prometheus, his jaw tight, his knuckles pale against the railing. 14 hours ago, the colony ship Cradle of Eden had gone silent. It carried 800 colonists, men, women, and 312 children, bound for the farming world of Kepler-7. Now its wreckage drifted in a debris field that glittered like broken glass against the dark. The children. That was what the intercepted transmission had confirmed. The Vorkai fleet had deliberately targeted the Cradle of Eden, knowing its manifest. Knowing who was aboard. Ethan Cross did not rage. He did not weep. He simply stood there, reading the casualty report for the third time, and made a decision so quiet and so total that it settled into his bones like iron. He turned from the viewport. "Helm," he said, his voice perfectly calm. "Set a course for Vorkai Prime. Battle speed." Commander Zyrex Thorn was not afraid of humans. That was what he told himself as his warship, the Eternal Dominion, held position over the smoldering wreckage of the colony vessel. The Vorkai Collective had spent 2 centuries cataloging every sentient species in the known galaxy, rating them by threat level. Humans had ranked 14th. Industrious, creative, somewhat dangerous in numbers, but ultimately soft. Emotional. Bound by sentiment. Zyrex Thorn had argued for raising the rating to 7th. He had been overruled. Now, as his tactical officer reported an incoming fleet signature unlike anything in their database, Commander Zyrex Thorn felt something he had not felt in 30 years of war. He felt uncertain. "How many ships?" he demanded. His officer's secondary eyes blinked rapidly, the Vorkai equivalent of a pale face. "All of them, Commander." Zyrex Thorn turned slowly. "Clarify." "The humans have sent all of them." Admiral Ethan Cross had not, technically, sent all of Earth's warships. He had sent every vessel in range of Sector 9, 407 combat ships, ranging from heavy destroyers to the 3 new Titan-class dreadnoughts that the UN Security Council had been arguing about deploying for 6 months. Ethan Cross had stopped arguing the moment he read the word children in that casualty report. The fleet dropped out of FTL in a formation that blotted out the star behind them. Ethan Cross opened a channel. "Commander Zyrex Thorn," he said. He had taken the time to learn the alien's name. He believed in knowing the name of the person he was speaking to. "This is Admiral Ethan Cross of the United Earth Navy. I am transmitting this message on all frequencies so that every member of the Vorkai Collective, every allied species, every neutral observer in this sector can hear what I am about to say." He paused. "Let the silence breathe. You destroyed a civilian colony vessel. You did this knowing it carried children. 312 children, Commander. The youngest was 4 months old." Another pause. "I want you to understand something about humans. We are not a warrior species by nature. We are builders. Farmers. Artists. Parents. We write songs about love and plant gardens and argue endlessly about politics and bake bread for our neighbors. We are, in the grand catalogue of the galaxy, extraordinarily ordinary." His voice dropped half a register. "But there is one thing, one singular, absolute, non-negotiable thing that transforms us completely. You do not harm our young. You do not touch our children. Every other offense, every other crime, every other act of war can be answered with diplomacy, with negotiation, with time. But this?" Ethan Cross set down the casualty report on the console in front of him. "There is no negotiation for this." Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Commander Zyrex Thorn listened to every word. His bridge crew was silent. Even the weapons officers, hardened veterans of 9 campaigns, sat motionless. "Admiral Cross," Zyrex Thorn finally replied, keeping his voice steady through years of discipline, "the destruction of the colony vessel was a strategic action. Colonization of Kepler-7 represented a territorial violation of Vorkai." "I know why you did it," Ethan Cross said. The interruption was so quiet it was almost courteous. I'm not asking for your reasoning, Commander. I'm informing you of a consequence. Zyrex Thorne's secondary eyes narrowed. You are outnumbered in this sector. Our reinforcements? Your reinforcements are not coming, Admiral Ethan Cross said simply. I sent 3 fleets ahead of this one. One is currently holding your reinforcement corridor at Waypoint Deltan. One is blockading your primary fuel depot at the Keth Nebula. And one, the one with the Titan-class dreadnoughts, is sitting in orbit around Vorkai Prime right now, and has been for the last 4 hours. They have not fired a single shot. Silence on the channel. Yet, Ethan Cross added. Zyrex Thorne's claws gripped the armrest of his command chair. He pulled up the tactical display. The data came back in fragments, signal confirmations, thermal readings, mass shadows, and every single thing Admiral Ethan Cross had just told him was true. This is not possible, he said. The coordination required. We had 14 hours, Ethan Cross said. You'd be surprised what humans can do in 14 hours when they're motivated. The thing that the Vorkai Collective, and most of the galaxy, truthfully, had never properly understood about humans was this: their sentimentality was not a weakness. It was an engine. Every other species processed grief as grief. Humans processed grief as fuel. 312 children. The number had moved through human space at the speed of light, carried on news feeds and personal messages and the horrified silence of parents clutching their own children a little tighter. It had reached Earth in under an hour. Within 3 hours, the UN Security Council had passed a unanimous resolution, a thing that had never happened in the Council's history, authorizing Admiral Ethan Cross to respond with, as the resolution put it, all necessary and proportionate force. The word proportionate had been debated for exactly 4 minutes before someone pointed out that there was no proportionate response to 312 children, and the word was quietly removed. Ethan Cross had been handed a blank check written in the rage of 8 billion people, and he had spent it with the cold precision of a surgeon. Commander Zyrex Thorne, Admiral Ethan Cross said, I am going to give you an opportunity that, frankly, you do not deserve. In exactly 1 hour, I will open a formal channel for unconditional surrender negotiations. Every Vorkai vessel in this sector will stand down. Your government will acknowledge full responsibility for the attack on the Cradle of Eden. You will agree to reparations, territorial withdrawal, and independent oversight of Vorkai military forces for a period of no less than 50 years. He let that sink in. If, at the end of 1 hour, I have not received a formal acknowledgement of these terms, if a single Vorkai weapon system powers up, if a single ship attempts to leave formation, I will order the fleet at Vorkai Prime to begin. To begin what? Zyrex Thorne said, and the question came out smaller than he intended. You know what, Ethan Cross said. Commander Zyrex Thorne did know. That was the worst part. He had read the human historical files. He knew exactly what a species looked like when it decided that enough was enough and burned the concept of restraint from its tactical vocabulary entirely. He had read about Dresden. About Hiroshima. About the resource wars. He had read those files and rated humans 14th on the threat assessment and told himself that those events were aberrations, outliers, ancient history. He understood now, with absolute clarity, that he had made a catastrophic error. 50 years of oversight, he said carefully. That is a significant demand. 312 children, Ethan Cross said. That is a significant crime. The hour passed. At 59 minutes and 43 seconds, Commander Zyrex Thorne transmitted the acknowledgement. Admiral Ethan Cross read it twice. Then he set it down, turned back to the viewport, and looked at the debris field where the Cradle of Eden had been. He stood there for a long time. His flag captain, a weathered woman named Reyes, came to stand beside him. We won, she said quietly. We prevented the next part, Ethan Cross said. He did not look away from the debris. Those aren't the same thing. She was quiet for a moment. The children. I know. They stood there together in the silence, two humans looking at the place where children had been, and neither of them said anything else, because there was nothing else to say. Across the galaxy, in the great chambers of the Interstellar Accord, the Vorkai Collective's ambassador filed the surrender acknowledgement. The neutral species observers, the Thelani, the Gorvok, the ancient Sereth, reviewed the footage of 400 human warships dropping from FTL in perfect formation, of a single admiral's voice delivering a 1-hour ultimatum that ended a war before it started. The Sereth elder, who had lived for 900 years and catalogued the rise and fall of 47 civilizations, updated the official threat assessment database. She moved humanity from 14th. She placed them first. And in the notes column, where assessors traditionally wrote tactical summaries, she wrote only 4 words. Do not touch children.